And we really enjoy coming up to rallies like this. This is the biggest in the north of England. There are one or two in the south of England, but by and by everything's fallen by the wayside because of COVID. A lot of the shows that we used to go to on the railways for the wartime weekends at the railways decided that because of the problems in the Ukraine, that they would stop having these rallies, and so this is probably only the 4th or 5th rally that's been held this year.
What else is the door? Free. Andrew is. Yeah.
Probably.
It's one of them they were American pictures yesterday. Yeah.
They're not.
See, I actually like to a lot more than them. It's not just that.
Right, yeah, I rang yesterday left my suit. Yes, Saturday morning.
Boom, boom. Reverse out, because the reverse gear was just as high as forward.
You've been here a couple of days, haven't you?
Eight-cylinder diesel. And Mike Phelps actually took the diesel engine out and rebuilt the engine from. Go.
You come all this way.
Right.
Remember that when we were kids and we played dead? Sound like PPK.
Yeah. Thank you, people in jobs and stuff.
Even got my own, so you see me after this camera, back around, see me again. These were the SS guards that thought they'd been lined up for the shot, which they were expected to do.
From the news is coming. Well, fine, ladies and gentlemen, read them to us, will you? I will, bravo.
Maybe one of your answers here. Last one has been checked out.
It's entertainment. It's fantastic.
Especially 2008, 2009, that was the worst year. I think it was what?
So just now been accounted for.
For the second Iraqi war. I remember that being on tele. Operation Iraqi Freedom in 2003.
The race support to be called forward. Well, ladies and gentlemen, a skirmish that happened very, very recently.
I remember
in the Middle East.
there was some big lads. They used to have planes on
Hours, days, quiet, minutes of absolute riot, noise. But I'm just going to check that on the clock.
Magazine, push that forward, and that's it. You can get in at everything.
Yeah, say no mess. A bit of mud in it, it's no worries, is it?
Thank you, Trish. Should have blown much louder than that. Only last night you got necklace, didn't you, love? Maybe unspent rounds on the floor. There are certainly explosives around the site. So under no circumstances come inside these barriers, because in here it is dangerous. Well, our next event is at 11:15, and it's the post-war soft skin vehicle parade.
When you fire it at people, you may experience a slight ringing in your ears, but as they will be several yards apart, you won't really worry about it. Instead of there's a mag we'll just fling them out and bring them back to the street. That's a mag.
When you come to the Second World War, one of the things that the Germans used to do, particularly the SS, they have a tattoo underneath their arm. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's basically, you know, it's the SS tattoo. And it'd be your blood groups, so it'd be O, A, etc. But unfortunately, it was also your death warrant. Because if you got caught on the Russian front and they found your SS, they would shoot you straight away, no questions. So, because that was part for like me being on the battlefield, I could do basically the blood transfusion. We'd have a little blood transfusion. I haven't got it with me, but.
As well. You can tell me the price of Elsa now and Sigma, and you can tell me the price of a new M42 Tunic. This is it, tank crew's having a bit wider. Yeah, moving around in one of those. Throw into it. Yeah, classic. It fits about
You are last night.
Some warming to it. We did Rugby a few years ago when they had the hottest summer since ever. walking out, I looked up, we were coming from that, through all that kind of bungalows, all the corridors, so I come out, there was a
Third one. When? Maybe 2 half ones, the early one. So I'll back them, so I'm looking for a decent one. They're the ones that absolutely shout.
I mean, I've still got them if you want them back.
No, I need to find a pair, no, the hidden stitch. I need to find a pair.
Flip?
Oh yeah.
To be fair, hidden stitch is like really...
Really short. I'll be dead on the deal.
He lost his good shape, has he? No, he's dead.
I reckon so. Drip. Recruiting journalists. You said we don't have a sense of humour.
Theologists would dispute this because effectively Tibetan Buddhism mixed with what we vaguely call shamanism in Mongolia.
Okay, yeah.
But it's effectively just Tibetan Buddhism for the most part. What they do is they use sorts of symbols, you know, like the Siombo. This is a 400-year-old symbol by that point. They use these sorts of Buddhist symbols to bring people together. Then the communists take over. Formally, they set up the state in 1921, but they are in power by 1919. You know, there's spillover of the Russian Civil War. They get to grips with that. You know, the Communist Party in Mongolia, the Mongolian People's Revolutionary Party.
Victor of Berlin, he was the corps commander at Falcon Gulf. Big line between you.
yeah,
What you should be able to do.
Down there, the Americans, some of their military might. Right to the top, through the fence at the top, we have the access field, and this year there's quite a lot of vehicles in there, well worth a visit to the top field. That's right at the top of the arena. Also, all the way around the arena, we do have living history displays. These people do it as a hobby, and they are very knowledgeable about their particular field. If you have any questions, feel free to ask any person at the displays, and they will be obviously pleased to explain what they are doing. Once again,
is that because it was so sexual that you just can't?
pizzas, sausages, fish and chips, pasties, fries, burgers.
Come on, off you go.
It's nice to see them. And there's an amazing amount of work some people put in to take a total wreck and build it back and get it back into running condition. It's a tribute to all of these owners, all of these drivers, also all of these reenactors for all the work they do. They're wearing original or repro uniforms. And then we have our famous, the famous and lovely Alvis Stalwart, wonderful vehicles, superb cross-country, superb swimmers, just wonderful, wonderful vehicles. Very, very popular, but very, very difficult to maintain, and they're getting very, very expensive these days. Following the Stalwart, we have our Land Rover series, and then right in front of the commentary point, we have the M151 Mutt, the US Army's Jeep in the Vietnam War. These had a bad reputation for turning over, and such a bad reputation in fact that the American Army scrapped them by putting them in a row and driving tanks over them and crushing them so that people wouldn't get them into private hands. They were so dangerous. Crazier days, I went to the Ardennes in January in one of those vehicles with no windscreen. The only thing that kept me going was copious amounts of cognac and vodka. It's followed by a second, oh that's a Ford, followed by a Ford, the Watt 2, and again that's got ice cream. And the incredible thing is, or to me, was after the war, in the early 1950s, the British Army was still rebuilding these vehicles. I couldn't believe it without the windscreen, because they were sending them to Libya and to the Middle East, where of course the British Army was in Palestine, it was in Egypt, it was in Libya, all the places where we weren't wanted. Oh, and here's the back controller. Good afternoon, sir. How are you? Yeah. Then it's followed by a Jeep, which has been converted into carrying stretchers. I wouldn't fancy being in, didn't carry on the top of those stretchers, would you? And then of course we have the, I think it's Bob Fenson's Austin A2 ambulance. Very famous vehicle, especially from the film Ice Cold and Alex, but a very, very popular vehicle to be to own as a Second World War military vehicle. Then the ambulance is followed by Jeeps. I won't go into the details of them, and then a German motorcycle combination. And then there's a vehicle just driven past me, which I should know, which is very, very rare, and it's probably a Dennis truck, but I'm not 100% sure. And then we have I think that's a Ford truck. The last time I saw these anywhere was in Egypt in the 1980s. I've been updated with the names and types of various vehicles. The thing is just going past the commentary point now is the federal prime mover, and this will be used for force trailers, tank transport trailers, things like that. Then right behind that is the famous GMC CTKW. Then followed by a Jeep, and then an aerial. I know that because it's got it written on the bonnet. So now we have the first vehicle through again, and then the Scavell Pioneer. That particular vehicle was prime mover for trailers, just like the one that's coming past us now, but that one's been converted with heavy weights on the back, again with a towing vehicle. love these particular scanners, apart from the fact that those are what I was in about. I made the reference kit like they all did in the 60s and 70s. And then the outcasts in the diamond teeth, and follow up behind the scanner pilot. These vehicles, they weren't good enough to drive, but they were so bad that every 6 months I have to have a new change of boots, because I pressed the clutch so often it wore the left boot out, it wore the sole on the left boot. Maximum speed about 25 mile an hour, driving through the noisy tunnel was bloody murder. In the diamond teeth, floating past us, looking at that registration 116 reminds me of that I've been now we have a Hillman utility, a used, very popular vehicles, very, very popular vehicles. With an open top back on them. But of course not many survived because they were so useful after the war that they were very quickly used up and worn out. I noticed our Jeep carrying the stretchers also have the Ukrainian flags, Salvation Army. You know the Ukrainians, you know what that means. Combination of hippos. It's got scallywags in the back. Look out, folks! Watch out for the scallywags in the back. Followed by the Austin K2 ambulance. Oh, these are Mongolian. I'm sorry, gentlemen, I don't know it's Mongolian. How about some gibberish? That meant Mongolia. I know the sailing there. This is we've got a Leyland hippo again. When I was in the army, I spent most of my time recovering Leyland hippos. You'd be amazed the places that people. We'll get you. We've got a shark shoot for us. This lady was trained by the KGB. She could get one right between your eyes at 300 metres, and I kid you not. We'll get you later. We'll take your bloody PlayStation off you. Yes? Also in the middle of the side we have the sponsors, which is...
I'll just tell you. Over there.
Retreating a lot, so mines are a defensive weapon for delaying the army. So the Germans planted millions of these, usually mixing them up. No, that's all. It's something heavy. So a truck going over it, it would just blow the truck to pieces. The tank, a disabled tank, wouldn't blow it up. Yeah. The guys that find the metal detector, start digging around it.
Morning, gentlemen, how are we?
Greetings, you twisted individual. How are you doing?
All right.
Can you use it phone with that?
You need something else to connect it to make it work.
You just sell it as a shell piece. Yeah.
to let you through.
That's obviously a year ago now.
Is it?
Right.
Where does time go?
I've got my factor, whatever it is, on a bit of VP90 on.
Excuse me, is this a sort of headset you use one of the radios?
Yeah, they're like, in fact they've got one lurking around somewhere.
Barbed wire. Quite sharp, a bit.
Would you like to have that one? I bought the charity shop for £9.50. Yeah? I'll give it to a good now, you can have it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's going to a good now.
The DLR5 as they say.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Whatever it is, you can have it.
Oh, thank you very much, thank you. Good. Miles away. It's not very far. I mean, if you get your mobile, if you've got a mobile phone, you know, you can ring somebody in Australia with it.
Yeah.
Whereas with that, you can talk to somebody 25 miles away, and that's as far as it goes.
Yeah.
So then...
The officers didn't like to be that close to the front line.
No.
No, Jacob.
No, it's not playing ball. So then, if you want to talk to somebody further away, like 50 miles, you rely on what's known as Morse code. Right? So, what were you in the army?
I weren't no signaller.
Oh, is it? I was going to say. So you have to learn this.
Oh, you were going to test me then, weren't you?
No, just, in fact, if you were signal, you probably go, no, never heard of it, never heard of it. So that's like it's what's known as Morse code, which all the letters have different dots and dashes. So a dot is a very short burst, and a long burst is a dash. So you've got da 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 da. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah.
Da 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 da.
SOS.
That sort of thing, yeah. So that's you use. But you use this key.
They have a map on them.
So you press that.
Their little radio thing.
And when it works properly, which it isn't doing today, it makes a buzzing noise.
On control.
Yeah. Short one, 3 long ones.
3 long ones. There you go. You remember it.
If only Oscar was here, he would have. Oh no!
Just been handing out some information about our friends, the Irish military vehicle crew. Some people think that military vehicles are an aggressive, antisocial bunch of people. But in fact, having got involved in military vehicles 30 odd years ago, I've got friends all over the world in military vehicles. Australia, New Zealand. I've learned so much spending a couple of hours. I didn't realise that in 1918 was the end of the First World War. There was more casualties in 1918. So when you're gonna stop the war, when you're gonna stop it.
Yeah, well, it's based around the world. We go to
John, you can I slide it?
So, it's just, you know what it's supposed to say?
Would you like the sandal clean?
Yes, we don't.
You sit with the KDs thing.
Beach house, correct.
Landfire is not on the report. We've got 1911 at home.
no good at all.
That's where it's all like that.
Then you have another solid.
If you've got that, you've got a stitching on it as well.
Yeah,
Wrong place. So, can you just grab another male for me? Another lovely male. Another male that's not looking at his feet.
This is where everyone gets hurt.
Yeah, not looking at his feet. Not deciding that he wants to run away. Have we got somebody?
Literally got up and walked away.
I thought so.
I'm coming over here to this gentleman in this lovely hat.
Yes.
His hat attracted me.
So, you're going to come and join us on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, give our two handsome gentlemen a big round of applause. Bigger than that. There we go. Okay, fellas, well, you're going to do some dancing for us. Now, I promise you it's not that difficult. There's no flips, trips, or anything like that. It's really nice and simple. You're going to follow the wonderful Miss Emma, and I'm going to dedicate this one especially to two people that I know are watching this, which is Barry and Deb. So, Barry, if you're watching, this is how you do this dance. You do it fabulous every time. So, I hope you're doing it in the airport. And this is Rum and Coca-Cola. And I'll be very disappointed if he's not doing this in the airport. If you ever go down Trinidad, they make you feel so very bad. And lips so sing and make up rhyme, guarantee you one real good fine time. Drinking rum and Coca-Cola, go down Point Cumana, above mother and daughter, working for the Yankee dollar. Oh, they're very good, aren't they? Oh, he's getting really into it. Since the Yankee come to Trinidad, they got the young girls all going mad. Young girls say they treat them nice, make Trinidad like a paradise. Drinking rum and Coca-Cola, go down Point Cumana, above mother and daughter, working for the Yankee dollar. Oh, he's got them rumba hips, hasn't he? From Chicken Cheek carries to Mother's Eye, those native girls all dance and smile. Help soldiers celebrate New Year's Eve, make every day like a New Year's Eve. Drinking rum and Coca-Cola, go down Point Cumana, above mother and daughter, working for the Yankee dollar. In all Trinidad, I also fear the situation is mighty queer, like the Yankee girls on natives' food. When she hear that bingo boom, drinking rum and Coca-Cola, go down Point Cumana, above mother and daughter, working for the Yankee dollar. You've got one verse left. You're really getting into it. Out on Manzanello Beach, with GI romance with native peach. All night long they traffic love, the next day sitting hot sun and cola, drinking rum and Coca-Cola. Go down Point Cumana, above mother and daughter, working for the Yankee dollar. Rum and Coca-Cola. Can you get lower, boys? Rum and Coca-Cola. Oh, we can. Oh, my goodness. Working for the Yankee dollar. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for our Andrew brothers. You'll be a YouTube sensation by the end of today. I promise you that. Is it time for your solo? Oh, it is, Emma. It's time for your lovely solo. Now, Emma's going to slow...
battle at 12:45. I shall be battling with a plate of chips and a bottle of beer. Parade. At 2 o'clock there'll be a recovery vehicle display. At 2:30 there'll be a World War II armoured vehicle parade. It might be an idea to tell you what's coming into the arena. I don't know what we're going to do, and I don't know what the demonstration is going to consist of. We'll just have to outlive.
It's not very well enforced code.
Then we have the post heavy wrecker.
Musculoskeletal mob tomorrow.
The grown man, 6'6", strapping man, just suddenly break down in tears because he just can't. There's too much noise in the room or something like that. It makes you realise, as I said, that not all injuries are visible, and that you've got to make allowances for folks. So we've got a nice line up here of heavy recovery vehicles, tractor units, a really nice display. So we'll be down there. We have two private and a GS truck, a 6x6 GS truck. That's an awful lot of fuel those guys are burning doing this.
asking now, they don't do that what they use. If you don't need it, don't bother with it. I don't bother with it now. I've been on the boat for over a year now. So that road, yeah, it does straight on it. So it's a shame really, because I've been enjoying it. The minute we're riding the bike, I actually found out about this. Because I came after 6 in the morning. I rode down into a flare at 6 in the morning and saw these vehicles parked, and I walked in there. And I had a look around and I says, there was somebody around, like, and I says, what's going on here? Is it like the weekend come? He says, no, it's a show. Yeah. Well, this is only 5th year I've been now. So I've come, I came on my own the first time. They absolutely poured them all day. Absolutely. We had a shower, but it really was to keep this down. Oh, right, horrendous.
In the meantime, to bring you up to speed with the flying display, I believe at 3 o'clock we have a Spitfire coming over, and we're also booked to have the Lancaster here. We're not quite sure, maybe it may come with this Spitfire, it may come later at about 3:20. It's just one of those things, we just have to wait and see what time they're going to come, because as I've said, this is the capital of chaos in here. We don't know what's going on, we just have to make it up as we go along.
temperature.
And when the engine stops, all the oil runs to the bottom three cylinders. If you can imagine a star shape, 3 cylinders at the bottom filled with oil. And so the driver has to get out and wind that around, I think it's 40 odd times. The idea being that he then distributes the oil around the engine. If you're very lazy like I was when I grew up, I used to use the engine to turn the starter motor to turn the engine. I never took the engine, turned around. The engine started. But it's, if you blow the cylinder heads off your engine, you're in trouble. But this particular vehicle, you can see the shape of it, it's a very rounded shape. When the Sherman's got into production, there was 2 types of production. There was this tank, which was called the M4A1, and the standard M4 Sherman. And the standard M4 Sherman is slab-sided, but it's all welded. This hole has been cast. So the difference is 2 tanks. There's the M4 welded, and the M4A1 is this. Production quickly that came off the production line. And John was the oldest that told us when it came off the production line, it actually had American German track on because it hadn't started making the Canadian track.
It's a huge experience. It's a huge experience. I mean,
the factory was running the tank. It was the invention of a Hungarian designer after he was made that. But the idea was that you have a massive supercharger that the air rises, what it is, the tank is surrounded by a massive square. So the use of the tank to go to the then prepared to when it's extruded to work, and then you coming down the arena now from the top of the bridge, the top of the hill, is the M16 half-track, or the Americans would call it a gun motor carriage. And this is equipped with a maximum turret and four 50 caliber machine guns. And then coming past our post now is a Sherman tank with a 75mm gun and a radial engine. First tank, prototype number T1, that was built in Canada. As it turned out, the tank works at I can't remember the name of the place now. The factory was in Chicago. The huge tank factory was able to produce many thousands of Sherman tanks, and so the Canadians stopped producing this particular version of tank, the Sherman. They were used for training in Canada, and then after the war, this particular vehicle, along with all the other 70 plus, I think there was 73 or 74, they were all transferred to the Portuguese army under NATO mutual defence aid purchases. And this vehicle was brought into the UK in 1983 or 84 by a timber merchant from Denbigh in North Wales, a guy by the name of Ian McGregor. And Ian imported all 70 odd Germans along with some other vehicles into the UK, and they were sold all over the world in the early 1980s. This is powered by a Rolls Royce, powered by a Continental R9 tank, the A4. The A4 was actually built with welded sides. That particular tank, the A1, has a cast hull, as you can see here. Then they decided to build another version called the M4A2, and that had twin GM 6-cylinder diesel engines. In fact, there were two General Motors 670 diesel engines. And then the Ford Motor Company said that we can design an engine even better, and they designed an engine, a V8 called the GAA, and that version was called the M4A3, and it was exclusively used by the US Army. And I must admit, for the wartime Shermans, the M4A3 with its V8 Ford engine was a much, much better vehicle to drive and to operate. And that's called a Valentine. That's a British designed Valentine tank. But this is a very, very special Valentine tank, and it's one of the rarest tanks in the world because you can see it's got canvas around it. And believe it or not, this tank actually floats. You can actually take this tank in the sea, and you can go and you can actually land on an opposing beach. And so what happens is, at the top of that canvas, there is a hollow rubber ring, and you pump air into the canvas, into the rubber ring, and obviously as the rubber ring expands, it actually lifts up the canvas until in the end you can't see the tank at all, because it's got a canvas ring all the way around it, and when you go in the water, the displacement of the tank and the rubber ring, and the displacement of the water is greater than the weight of the tank, and the tank floats. John bought this tank in, I think in about September 1984. There were two tanks without turrets in a factory in the West Midlands. And John actually lived across the street from where the tank was stored. John bought that tank because he'd managed to find parts of the turret, and I bought the other tank which didn't have a turret. And through various contacts around the world, we found a tank turret in New Zealand. The tank turret was complete with a gun, live machine gun, all the equipment. And so about 1986, we brought the tank turret back to England, and we had a Valentine tank, which is a standard tank and not the DD variant. Lots of people need to drink the water. Aircraft Museum. But at the moment now we have a third Lancaster which is being rebuilt to flying condition, which is the one over in Lincolnshire. I can't remember the name of the family that owns it, it's escapes me at the moment, but it used to be the Gate Guardian at Scampton. It's now being rebuilt. I think they've rebuilt the main spar.
How many times that's not a good idea for barbecue?